Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intune.training, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune, the Steve and Adam show with Steve and Adam and Jóhannes. What's up, boys?
Hey, Jóhannes.
All
hey,
good.
Adam. How we all going?
Hey, hanging in there, man. Ready to
keep
churning this out, man.
Yep.
Right.
So
what
are we talking about?
I don't know.
I got in first.
Okay.
Apple,
We're doing Apple macOS provisioning.
Ooh, macOS provisioning.
Some of this you probably should watch if you're also going to do iOS provisioning, because some of this is relevant for that. It will be required for both of those things. So, yay.
Yes. Yeah, very important. But we're picking macOS at first because this is something that has changed a lot in the last 5 years or 4 years in the Intune world. So if we were to look back when we first started doing Intune management and Intune training, the guidance was Jamf. Use Jamf, sync it all. Our friends at Jamf will do everything with us. In the intervening time, more and more we've been able to do it natively in Intune. And the experience is actually pretty awesome now, in my opinion. Is it perfect? Look, it will always need some sort of remediation or changes, but it's pretty damn good. What do you guys think?
I think it's enough to look at the change log for Intune every month and just see the sheer amount of Mac stuff and Apple features in general that are being added.
I've felt that since the beginning of getting into Intune. It's like every time I looked in there, it's like, who's even using this stuff? It was always Mac and iOS updates all the time. And I'm like, where's the Windows updates? So they're definitely clearly doing it. The other telling thing for me is, I was at the MMS conference back in the spring, and man, the number of people that had Macs as their daily driver, even Microsofties, that's their daily drivers. Ben on our channel, like, he switched over. He writes PowerShell all the time. And where's he doing it? Mac.
I'm going to call Ben out because I still remember the first time I brought my first Mac. It was down in Melbourne, and he's like, "That's stupid. Why are you doing that?" and now he's very much a Mac zealot.
Yeah, but he's cool because of it now.
Yeah, that's right. I was just ahead of the trend.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yes. And he won't watch this video, so it's okay to make fun of him.
Yeah. Feel free to claim him so he ends up watching the video.
Everybody tag him. 3 minutes in, Ben. Go watch. All right. So anyway, we're going to get into it. We're going to get started. So I'm going to drive first, as Steve is going to walk us through setting up our some things in Apple Business Manager. I guess there's an important point to kind of start with here, that if you have not set up Apple Business Manager, you're going to need to do that. And we will not be talking through that in this because, well, we did it before. If you want to go back long ago and see our original Apple Business Manager video, the main thing is it's quite the undertaking. It involves having a DUNS number, which is a full-on like real registration of a company and things. And no, we're not doing another round of it. So we assume at this point you've got your Apple Business Manager account set up, and so start there, and then we'll go from here. So at this point, we are ready to now connect Apple Business Manager to Intune in order to be able to do Mac and iOS provisioning within Intune.
Yes.
Take it away, Steve.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go across the Intune portal there, Adam, because we'll start there. And if we then go to devices, and if we then select, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to select macOS. What we should be doing, Adam, though, because we want to make sure our videos don't age, is we should be going and enabling the new preview portal.
Yes. All right. So for that point there, yes, we talked about this. We said, man, with the intra portal, changing. We've picked the wrong time to reboot again because we wanted new UIs, and guess what's going to happen? These UIs that we're using in Intune are 5 years old now, and well, we need to. They're going to change on us as we go within 6 months, probably. So we're going to use the preview portal for as much as we can. Right now, it's only available in the devices node, but we will, we'll adjust as we go. So sorry if later the videos have not aged well. So anyway, that's what it is. All right.
So we're going to select macOS in the middle. And then what we're going to see here is macOS enrollment. And you'll see that first off we need to do is there's a whole heap of stuff grayed out. Why it's grayed out is because we need to have the Apple MDM push certificate. This is how you link into the Apple service to say, hey, these devices are with me, let them go and authenticate. So we're going to tick the box to say, hey, yeah, I agree. Go bananas. Then we're going to hit the download the CSR.
I still have the last one we did.
Of course you do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create the MDM push certificate. So we're going to click that button and it should open up across to Apple. And we'll go, hey, sign in. And we'll see that we're using two-factor on our account because we're awesome and we do the right thing. Why do we hit the link? Because it's the easiest way to find where we need to go. So Adam will put his pin in once it comes through.
I think this is the only way to get to this, realistically.
No, you can do it without it. Oh, no,
yeah, okay.
It's a whole different portal, yeah.
So we're going to zoom in, yep. And you'll see that we've got an expired one there that we're just going to delete or revoke. We can't delete, but that's okay. So we're just going to create a new one. And we're going to go, yep, I've read it. We're going to hit agree. And we're going to choose our file. And you may want to do your downloads off to the other screen, but that's okay. We'll put a note in there for posterity of Intune training reboot. And the reason why you would want to do this is if you're looking to see where it's being used and things like that.
It's a really modern font they've got going on there.
Yep.
Really blends, fits nicely.
Yep. And then we're going to download that. Okay. And then we're going to go back to the Intune portal. And we're going to put in the credentials that we used to create the MDM push certificate. So this technically isn't needed, and that's not correct.
Admin. Yeah, that's right. Admin.
So the reason why this is important is so you know the account that you need to use to renew the certificate. No. If you don't know what this account is, then you can't renew the certificate and you have to replace it.
Yeah. The one thing to add to this, you might want to consider having some sort of shared a service account to do this, because if Adam leaves the company, you're gonna have a rough time.
Yep. Yeah, for our company, we've got an account that's stored in our vault with password management, and so you just go check it out when you need it. So yeah, you definitely
I have a simple one for you. What you do is you create it with a distribution list. So you create the Apple ID with the distribution list so that anybody on that distribution list can reset the password.
And for those who haven't done this, you will have to renew the certificate about once a year.
Yes, once a year.
You do not want this to expire. Trust me.
Yes, you want to be able to get the email about the expiration coming, and you want to see it in the portal as well. Yeah. So put it on a calendar. Hey, all right, September 1, we just did this. All right, we want to make sure that we've got a calendar notification to take care of this before that expires.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to hit upload.
Yep. And what this will unlock is a whole heap more stuff. So it doesn't auto close the blade, which is okay. So technically we can stop right there and devices would enroll into Intune. Easy. But we're not going to do that. because we want to do a little bit more than that. We want to have more control over the Mac devices themselves, because I could register with this, as I say, but then I can't go and do silent install of applications. I can't do a whole heap of additional configurations associated with it. So that's why we use the enrollment program. And this is where you can do that out-of-box experience as well.
So, Steve, are we going to set up the enrollment type or the enrollment restrictions?
Yes, we should do that, which we haven't done for the whole tenant. So we should probably do that first.
Yes.
So to do that, we need to go to the Entra portal.
Oh,
Did we put it in here now?
It's right here.
Oh, we can do it in here now, yeah. And we go to Windows. No, that's where we were.
This one.
So this
There's a
restriction,
default one that's in place for everything.
yeah, so this one's actually really important, and we should really do a separate video on this. But if you click on the default one where it says all users, what you'll note is on the right-hand side, it's actually assigned to all devices. So the default policy gets assigned to all devices. Then what you do is you put policies over the top assigned to the user objects. So if you go and change your default policy for Windows registration for personal devices to block, which most organizations do, it can, in certain circumstances, impact your ability to register Windows 365 devices.
Oh,
Because
that's a
they
good
don't
pick.
get registered with the user object, they get registered with the device object. So yeah, it's semantics, but it's really important semantics. But what we actually need to do first, Adam, is if we go to the Entra portal for me, and if we select on the left-hand side under Identity, we're then going to select Show More. And we are looking for Settings, I believe, and Mobility. And we need to set this. So what you'll note, we only have one here for Microsoft Intune. The other one doesn't get added anymore because of the changes with
It's
Web.
way old.
So if we click on this, we're going to be very simple, and we're just going to say all and all. In your organization, you might not want to do this, but this is to allow, the top one is for mobile device management, to be registering devices into your tenant. The second one is for mobile application management, where you can do application protection policies and things like that. So super, super, super important. If
And we're not
without
going to
that, we
bother
can't
setting,
register, right?
you don't have to set these URLs,
Nope.
but if you did, they would need to be something accessible by your personal
Yep.
device users and stuff.
Correct.
All right, so there we go.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so then
Happy
back over
days.
here on the restrictions.
Yep.
Right
So-
now, with what we've just turned on, we've just said everybody can enroll
Register
anything
every device into Intune.
into Intune, and we do
Which
not
we're good
want
with,
that.
right? It's not going to cause any problems with BYOD and ownership or anything like that.
No. So we will probably need to cover this. Like you said,
Yes.
this probably needs to be a separate video, but well, we're here. So
We'll do it as a separate video, but what we'll talk about now is we're going to disable personal Mac OSs, because that's what we're talking about today. And we're just going to save, and that's it. Because this
Now-
means that I can't just go and BYO my Mac that's sitting here.
Now, if you want to do that and you want to pilot things, so you'll notice. Let me back up. So when we went into this one, you notice that we were on the Mac tab, but then we see all of these. That's because the default policy includes all of the profile types, all the platforms. Originally, when we did this, they didn't have.
They're broken out.
I went too far out.
You
Sorry.
did.
They didn't have each of these tabs across the top. And so it just was one big pile of different restriction types. Now I can come into macOS and I can create a restriction policy, and it's unique to macOS, and then it'll only show in the macOS item there. So if I wanted to allow or I guess allow both for a subset of users, then we could do that. I'm not going to assign it to anybody yet. I'm just and then there's a prioritization setting here. So if you add additional items, so this is the least restrictive policy, or in a hierarchy perspective. So priority 1 wins over so it gets applied from the bottom up, basically.
Yep.
So the top one wins.
Correct.
All right. So we'll go into that probably more in detail.
We'll definitely do a separate video on that.
Because this does get you into some trouble if you get this wrong. So certainly want to address that stuff. But for now, if you're following along for macOS, you've now locked it down. So your macOS users can't do personal device enrollment. Now, if you're doing this and following along, you're doing this in your production environment. Number one, back where we were in the intro portal, you would probably want to set this to some. You would want to select a group of people that you would want to have access to enroll devices. That way you don't have to worry about doing the other enrollment restrictions at this point. Or additionally, you could come to each one of these and do the same thing we did, where you block personal enrollment for each of the device types. So just want to protect you there, because once you light this up, next time somebody tries to sign into their personal device, they go to a web browser and you try to go to your Office portal, it's going to prompt them to register their device, potentially, depending. So just want to be careful there. There is a kind of an open door there that you can open up. So anyway, all right. So I think that's enough caution. Let's throw the rest of it to the wind and carry on.
Yes. So we're going to go back to macOS. We're going to go to macOS enrollment. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to see where we've got the enrollment program tokens. We're going to select that for us. And we're going to add. And we definitely agree we're going to download our public key. And we have our key. And then what you'll see is we now need to go across to Apple Business Manager. So you'll see it's business.apple.com, and then it's going to route to where we need to go from here. Ideally, but it didn't. That's okay. We're going to select on the left-hand side, we're going to go to Preferences. And we're going to
make a note to blur out Adam's phone number.
Yes. We're going to go
or
down
not,
the bottom
and you
where
can just call him.
Please don't. You'll see down the bottom where it says your MDM servers, we can hit the add button. So we need to add an MDM server. We're going to title it Intune Training Reboot. Whatever you put in here is what you'll see in your Intune training, Intune tenant. So if you put Mickey Mouse's Fun Dance, it'll come up as Mickey Mouse's Fun Dance, and everybody will see it and giggle. Just for reference. So if we choose that file, because we definitely downloaded it.
I did click download and it did not.
Yes, it did.
There it goes. Okay. I didn't see it there, but I got it now. All right. It's on the other screen. All right. There we go.
Cool. And then we hit save. When we hit save, we then have the ability up in the top to select download token. So we're going to start off with that, and then we'll come back into here in a second. So we've downloaded our token. Now we're going to go back to Intune, and we're going to, again, put in our Apple ID. So we have a reference. So this is to ensure that it's kept up to date and you know who created it, etc., etc. We then go and select our Apple token that we've put in from another screen. We're going to hit next. And we've created that. So that's actually pretty straightforward. What we then need to do is we don't have any devices assigned to this environment yet. So if we go and select devices, Adam, you'll see it's 0. We need to go back to Apple Business Manager to where we were. And we're going to see where it says default device assignment. We're going to change that. So all new devices will appear in that tenant. And we need to do a quick authentication because it loves us so much.
That was nuts.
Yep.
Got to work fast. All right, here we go.
Yep. So we're going to change this. We're going to go and set our iPads, macOS, iPhones, iPods, and Apple TV to come across. Not all of those devices are actually manageable by Intune. Do you guys know which ones can, which ones can't?
Probably not
Can't
the
manage
iPod.
the iPod.
You cannot manage the iPod, and you cannot manage the Apple TV.
That's a
I'm
bummer.
not so sure about that.
I think you
Not
can.
in Intune. Not right
And
now.
not an Intune, but they are manageable by Jamf, I think.
Citrix as well.
Correct. But Intune doesn't have that functionality today. So the next step we also need to do, because we've said all new devices, but we need to go and handle existing devices. So we're going to select the devices on the left-hand side for us, Adam. And we're going to select a couple of devices here that we're going to use for demo. So we're going to select the MacBook Air, and we're going to edit MDM service. We're going to select where we want it to go. This is great. And we're going to hit confirm, happy days. But this is the part that's really awesome now, is if you hit edit MDM server for me, Adam, again for me, and it hasn't loaded up, so hit cancel. Select up and select the iPhone X and then back there. Now if we hit edit, it still hasn't come through. What we're looking for is previously what you had to do, this.
You can do it for all.
Yeah, but see down the bottom where it says unassigned from current MDM. Previously, when you wanted to just unassign a device from your server,
There it is. Came back.
Yeah.
You had to remove it from your tenant. And if you're using a Mac, it got really complicated because Macs could only be registered into your tenant from purchase. Nowadays, you can do it via waving your iPhone over the top of it with the Apple Configurator app. But we'll go through that event at another time, because I think that's going to go a little bit further down the rabbit hole than we we're planning to do today. If we select the iPhone XR as well for us, Adam.
One moment, Steve.
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm doing this at home, got a lab set up, went through the whole hassle of getting a DUNS number. So if I've gotten that far, or if this is the first time I've done this and don't have any devices in here, how do you get them in here to begin with?
Let's do that in another video.
But what if this is the only video they're watching, Steve?
I know. So to do that, you need to use the Apple Configurator application. You sign in with your Apple Business Manager account, and then you have the ability to import it into the tenant.
There you go.
Apple Business Manager.
Do those steps, and good to go.
As I said, we'll go through it more in a later video. We just don't have that set up at the moment, but we will.
All right.
Trust us.
Is that it?
Yep.
Ready?
That's
Okay.
it. So now if we hit refresh, we put a timeout on that.
We may have to wait.
So while that's going through, what we're going to do is we're going to select profiles. And we're going to create a profile for macOS. We'll do iOS later on. And we're going to give this a nice name, macOS with a lowercase m.
No, it just wants to be in uppercase no matter what I do. I don't know.
It's fair enough. So we're definitely going to do this with user affinity.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about McDonald's. It's Big Mac OS. See, that's what it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So we're going to use user affinity for all of our provisioning because we are very much tying one user to one device. But this is where we then go and can do it as non-user assigned, but that's not the model we're using. From there, we're going to definitely 100% use setup assistant with modern authentication.
Sorry, let me back up. So enrollment without user affinity would be something like a shared device enrollment.
Yep.
Okay, so if you have a need for having shared devices for whatever reason, then that would be the route you would go there.
Yeah. This next one's actually pretty important. Do you want your customer or your end users to be able to remove the management profiles or not? The answer normally is no, I don't want them to be able to do that. But there are certain circumstances where it's like, yeah, you know what? I don't mind. So understand what that is and why you're wanting to do that. From here, we set our department and department phone number.
Directory services right there.
Yep. And then here is actually where it gets really cool, because we don't want to use Apple Pay because we don't want that. The other one that we can disable, which I think is very important, is Apple ID. So this stops being able to add additional apps. We don't want to restore. We don't need that.
You know, if you went from top to bottom down the list, it would be really easy.
Yeah, but Adam, it's so much more fun than winding you up on this.
I'm like, where is it? It's not below. Where am I?
We don't want Siri for what we're doing. We're going to turn off file vault because we'll handle that later on. Screen time's irrelevant.
You probably don't want
Okay, so
right?
I guess to back up. So setup assistant is when you start provisioning the device, it's going to ask you it's going to pop up a screen pretty much for each one of these things and ask the user a question. Do you want to set up this? Do you want to set up that? So there are certain things though that, like location services, if you want to find the user's phone, you have to enable location services
at this point.
If you hide any of these screens, they default to the most restrictive setting, which in this case would be turned off. So you need to have this displayed. However, it's still a user choice during provisioning. So you can't actually force it. It has to be a user choice. So if you are tightly managing this and you need it to be enabled for all users, then you would need to make sure that you set that up during setup. However, I believe the users can turn that off at any time.
Yeah, unless you send it out via policy after the fact.
Yeah.
For a lot of these, you can do policy after the fact.
All right. So for the Apple ID, though, what's the deal with turning that one off?
It's to stop them from being able to install apps from the App Store.
So we don't want them to install apps from the App Store?
Nope.
Why not?
Well, if say for example, I'm using exclusively Microsoft technology for all of my content because we're awesome. We have our fancy E5 license, happy days. But then I have somebody come in and go, well, I want to use Evernote. That's a potential for DLP. Or I'm going to go off and install Dropbox. Or I'm going to go off and install Application X. I don't have that level of control. So it comes down to how do I control the content going in and out of my device.
But you're going to need to disable that with a policy anyway. Because this is just through the out-of-box experience, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is also to speed up that whole process as well.
So it won't prompt the user to set up an Apple ID when you do this.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So think of this like controlling the ESP.
Yeah. So now, I mean, the reason I'm asking is because on the flip side of this, like we don't disable this. We encourage people to use we encourage them to use their company email address to set up that Apple ID.
Yeah.
They don't have to, but they can. Because our stance is we want to provide you the phone as a convenience, especially if you travel internationally. We want to be able to manage those plans without having to expense reports and silliness. But we want you to, I want to enable you to just carry one phone or one device.
Yep. But that's not what we're looking here at the moment, Adam. This is macOS, not iOS. It's a different model.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Because it's like turning around.
This is equivalent to your Windows setup. Sorry, that's a very good point. All of this applies to the iOS world.
Yes.
So sorry. Yes. All right. Carry on. Sorry, I don't know why. I saw the screen and I immediately went down the iOS provisioning route for a moment.
iOS is the only thing that matters, isn't that right,
Adam?
Cut
that out and let's move on. This is more commentary than I had for the previous Apple-related things we've done.
Correct. We're going to turn off iCloud storage because we're using OneDrive. But everything else, look, I don't really have a concern about that. Could I make it a little bit more streamlined? Of course, but we've got to have something there for our demo.
Yeah, but ultimately, do what's best for your org and
Yep.
make sure you're paying attention there. All
Correct.
right.
So we've got our profile. We need to assign that. No. So see up the top where it says set default profile. We're going to select, well, we don't have one for iOS, but we're going to select it for macOS. We're going to click OK, and that means any new devices will get that profile. Perfect. So now if we go back to devices, we've still got 3 minutes to fill, which is all good, because what we're going to quickly do, because we need to set this up as well, is we need to get the company portal application deployed via VPP to the macOS device. No, we don't, because you can't deploy. Anyway, we'll get there. So let's have a quick look at setting up VPP first. So if we...
Sorry. Okay. Let's go back. That's in your tenant?
No, macOS enrollment, where you were.
Is it? Okay.
Yep. And then all the way down the bottom. Oh, no, I thought it was. I do apologize. It is under tenant administration.
No, it's an app.
Oh, it's, yeah. It's
Connectors and
apps.
tokens.
Apps, VPP.
Go back to
Yeah.
tenant administration.
No.
Go to connectors and tokens.
There it is.
Apple VPP tokens.
See, I've been paying attention. I knew where it was.
So here you need to put in your token name, but we need to open up Business Manager. So if we go back to Business Manager there for us, Adam, and we go down the bottom where it says Adam, and we're going to select Preferences, and then we're going to select Payment and Billing.
So I have one question for the audience, Steve. Since we're in
Yes.
the payments and billing tab, does any of this cost money?
No. Well, I'll rephrase that. So long as you purchase zero cost licensing, no. If you go and purchase an application that has a license and a cost associated with it, yes. But by default, no. Because once you've got your DUNS ID, which is the main effort most organizations will have, you've registered your Apple Business Manager, it's all free. It's all part of the use our service model. So one thing you'll note there is we have 2 content tokens, and that's because we have multiple locations set up because we've used this for other tenants. So this is where you can have multiple Intune environments set up on the one Apple Business Manager environment. So if you're running a production environment and a non-production environment, you can link them to the same Apple Business Manager and do this testing. And then just switch the devices between the tenants as needed, between the locations or MDM servers as needed. So Adam's downloaded the Intune training token because we're replacing the old one. We're going to go in here and we're going to give the token name of Intune training, VPP. We're going to put in our Apple ID again because it's very important to include that in there. So intunetraining.appleid.com. Don't bother trying to email us on that. It doesn't work and it's not monitored. And then we're going to select our VPP token, which was offline. Cool. We're going to hit next. The country and region does matter, sort of. The important one up the top is take control of token from another MDM. Yes, we want to do that because we're replacing our previous MDM service. If you're not taking if you're wanting to run 2 side by side, so say for example you're moving from Jamf to Intune, you can hit no on this and you can run them separately, sort of. And that's what that's for. All right. And country and region, we're going to select US and it's a business. So if you select the drop down for business, if you're running education, you have the ability to select education. And what that just does is it changes what's going to be delivered based on the rating of the application. Cool. So that's done and we've created. Perfect. So I reckon we've filled enough. If we go back to devices and we go to macOS, if we go to enrollment, and we go enrollment program tokens, and we select that, and we go to devices. And now if we hit sync, it should come through pretty quickly.
Now, I will go back here for a moment.
Yes.
Every time for a while, when I would come in here, I was like, all right, how do I see my devices that are synced? Where do I see them? And then I would click on this. I'm like, well, that's not it. And I would click on this and say, well, that's not it. I would click on this, and I just keep going round in circles until I finally said, oh, well, what if I click on this? Oh, now I got to this place. So
if you go back one though, Adam, and click on enrollment program tokens, if you look in the text, the second last column is devices synced is 1.
Yeah, but I want to see the list of devices.
I know you do.
No, I mean what I mean is like, okay, so I know what I'm looking for. Like I've seen this screen, and so then I click on these other screens. I'm like, I don't see it. Where is it? I know this screen exists, and every time it's just a wild goose chase trying to find this. I don't quite understand, Steve, why, like comparatively speaking, on the autopilot side of things, you have a whole button that's just here's your autopilot registration, register devices. Why is this nested so far down and hidden under? Because it's not even.
Let's just chalk it up as it's one of these mysteries, and we'll keep moving on.
No, I need to tell everyone that this is not acceptable. This needs to be better. It's just confusing, at least for me, guys. Like,
yes,
silliness. You're not alone on that. That's
just break that one out. It's just put another button right here. Do we have like? Look, it's unbalanced anyway. Like, put an extra button right here. It's perfect.
Yes, Adam.
Balance it out.
Shall we keep going on to the?
I was waiting for the device to sync. Right? Chill out. Okay, so we got one sync. I know. All right, here we go.
All right. So we've synced our device, which is nice and fun.
We set a default profile. Has that profile been automatically assigned?
Yes, because we can see profile assigned.
Does it show us when you drive through? Oh, look at that.
And then you click in through here and you can see
assigned devices at the bottom.
Yeah.
And bam.
All right. And so if you had not previously set that up, or you already had devices synced and didn't have a profile, you could come here and click assign devices and add them after the fact as well. All right. So there we go.
Yep.
Okay. We're ready to go?
All right.
Is that it?
We will be in a second. Yep. We're ready.
Okay. Switch over.
All right. Let's do that at your stream. So here's our
Were you going to add the company portal?
We were. But it's actually
that's why we had to do the VPP thing. Yeah.
But it's actually not published in the company portal. It's not published in the Apple Business Store for macOS.
It's actually already published into Intune training tenant already. It's just not assigned.
Oh, is it? That's iOS, Adam.
It's already here.
iOS, macOS, macOS.
I just saw it. It's right here. Okay.
Yeah. So if you select macOS on the left-hand side,
it's not here.
What you'll see is we have Big Sur, we have Azure VPN, we have Remote Desktop, and we have Test Flight. We don't have company portal. And if we just to belabor the point a little bit, Adam, if we go back to the Apple Business Manager and we go to Apps and Books, and what we're going to do is we're going to search for company portal.
And it only has it for iOS.
Yep.
But if you needed to add an app that you wanted to push, I mean, while we're here, let's talk about it for a moment. If you needed to push an app for a managed app, you would purchase it through here, specify a number of licenses, add it to your tenant, and hey, cool, we've now purchased 10,000 licenses of the company portal. So eventually that'll sync over here. Yeah, we already had them. and it'll sync over here eventually. So,
Yep.
All right. So what you're saying is, hey, that's not available
Nope.
as part of the VPP purchase program. So walk us through why that is and show us how to provision a Mac device.
Let's go through the process of provisioning the Mac, and then we'll come back to the company portal, because that's what we're here to talk about, and then we can come back and do a session on the company portal app, because otherwise we're not fully prepared to have the company portal app published right now. I need to go get the content and links. So what we're going to do here is this: if you've ever turned on a Mac brand new, you get this fancy scrolling screen. We're going to go and select our region. I can't change the resolution to make it any clearer, sorry. But I'm going to select English Australia. If you're needing to capture videos on this, I think it's Command F1, no, Control F1. I can never remember the actual command, but there's a command you hit for it to pop up to share the screen, which is Command F1. This is super important. Once you get to this screen, which is the select country or region, you can make that change, and then you can go back and you can see the whole thing. So when creating content or presenting or anything like that, you want to be able to do that. That's how you do it. It's a nifty little trick that a lot of people haven't realized. So we're just quickly going to go through this, and straight away, you'll now see that it's saying, hey, this device is under remote management. So,
Now, Steve, this was a fresh build.
Yep.
Reset fully. It had
Yep.
no knowledge of this until just now when it checked in to the service.
Yep. And my setup right now is I've got a network cable plugged in and my external display, and that's it. So it's going to Intune and going, hey, what's my configuration now? So let's see how.
But if there hadn't been any network, would this have popped up immediately?
No, it would have popped up for the Wi-Fi. And then after the Wi-Fi, it will have gone through and said, hey, here you go and connect to the remote management.
So pretty much just like the Windows out-of-box experience, the same deal where it's
correct.
So, but does a Mac require an internet connection in order to provision, or could you have gotten past this without it?
Yeah, that's kind of a question.
I think you can bypass it, but I've not tried it.
Well, get back to us on that, okay?
I can do that once we have a working computer. So as you can see, it's a little bit slow here. This could be because we've set the tenant up in America now instead of Australia. So it just takes that little bit longer to provision.
Yeah, so now Steve gets to have the pain of this. I
Yes.
kept telling him it was slow, and he said, no, it's not. It's your internet at home.
It's not, Adam. But what we can do while we're waiting for this to retrieve it is let's talk about macOS and company portal. So to add the company portal for macOS, you actually need to do a couple of different things. This is where I'm just going to put this in our chat, and I'm going to put a banner on the screen. Let me just paste it in here. And show over the top of our faces. So this is the link where we go through the docs on how to set this up and use it. What I'll do is I'm going to flick over to Adam's screen, and he's going to bring up that docs page, and we're going to go through it from there, unless he wants to do it on my screen.
All good.
All right, so I'm flicked over to you. And what you'll see in here is there's three options, just a little bit down where Adam's mouse is, on how you can get the company port onto the Mac OS. You can deploy it, ask your users to do that. We're definitely trusting them to do that, right? That's the easiest option, no. The next one is deploy company portal as a line of business application. Oh yeah, that's pretty easy. We just download it and publish it, and we've got to bundle it and all of that. But the more interesting one for me is using the shell script, because I can just sit there and say, yep, go and deploy this, and I'll go and get the latest version. So we're going to go with that. This has been provided by the Microsoft Cat team for UEM or Intune. And this is where they've gone through and spent a lot of time building this out and making these shell scripts really, really useful. So definitely make sure you look into these. But what we're going to do is we're going to select macOS. And then from there, you're going to have a list of apps. So apps, config, etc. We're going to select apps, and then we're going to select company portal. But what you'll see there is a whole heap of other apps that you can select.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So these are all pre-canned scenarios and solutions. So we're going to grab the
very quick for those of you watching.
Yeah,
deploying it as a script is probably the fastest way to do it, and it is very reliable.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a quick look and read through the README, because the README will tell me what I need to actually do, because that's the simple stuff. And it looks like we can just run the shell script. Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's take a look at it. What's in there?
Yep. Whole heap of stuff.
Well, I'm glad somebody else wrote it.
Yes. So this will go through that whole process and install the script, restart, and everything associated.
Curious.
So what we're going to do is we're going to
look
download
at that.
script. Yeah.
No. So, well, I mean, so just to point that out, like they've made an alias that points to the raw content of this GitHub file. So equivalent to doing those steps. So that's pretty cool.
So what you're saying is the quick start is a matter of just going and grabbing that single line. And then pasting that into the shell script.
Yep. That's it.
Cool. So we've copied it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go on the left-hand side. We're going to go to devices. And then we're going to select macOS. We're going to select shell scripts. And we're going to add. Cool. We're going to hit next. We still have to upload a file though. Looks like, can we just paste it in there?
No. Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yes.
So, okay. Do I... Hold on.
So just paste the...
We've clearly not done this, folks. So this is always the fun part. I like
So just paste that quick run script into a text file, save it as install.sh.
Yeah. Well, so what I was thinking though is you could also, I guess, could you potentially just get the entire content of this,
correct,
this file and put it in, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But then you're not the interesting thing with the quick run is then it forces the company portal app to open up once it's complete.
Got it. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, because that was that last bit that it had in command. Okay, so sorry, I'm saving it to a text file here. And so, okay, so that's what you're saying. So you're running the installer and then it triggers the open. So, okay, that makes sense. Let's see if that works. Okay. Clearly, we don't know what we're doing. I don't think you can do that.
That's an interesting one. I've not seen that before.
It doesn't like the shell
Maybe
script.
it doesn't like the formatting.
Wait, I don't think you're putting the correct script in that thing. So if you go back to the Intune portal, because it's a shell script, but you upload the command for that.
Yeah, so I think you need to do the raw.
SH.
Yeah, we have to put in the entire thing.
Yep.
It's kind of a bummer.
That's okay.
Create an
I suppose
assign.
it's running as shell. So if you go back to the GitHub repo there, Adam.
Yeah, I'm going. Hang on. Somewhere eventually. There it is, this guy.
Yep, and we're going to click on that and go to the raw for it.
Got it already.
Cool. Copy. Put it in your text file.
Save.
Yeah, this is the set sh file. So, which type of script is this?
There you go. It's a shell. That's bash.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And then we're going to assign it to a group. We're going to assign it to licenses because we don't have any other groups. And we're going to deploy it. Hang on, before we do that, let's make sure that we've got the configuration correct on it, which should be...
Did it even have any? Oh,
yeah,
sorry. There we go. All right.
Run script assigned in user, no. Not configured 3 times.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, the script pushed all that box down. Okay.
All good.
All right, cool. There we go. Let's see if that works.
It will hopefully work, but right now I'm having some issues with the macOS where it's not pulling down the profile. For some reason, it's just sitting here and waiting. It's already popped up and said, hey, I couldn't retrieve the policy, and we're just still investigating that.
All right.
Go back on your screen there, Adam.
So let us pause the recording for a moment. So Steve can show you this cool screen real fast.
So just wanted to call out, this is the error message that we're seeing. We're just going to take a little bit of a break to understand why that's occurring, and we're going to remediate that and then come back.
All right. You won't notice much at all. We'll be back. And we're back.
Yay!
All right, Steve,
So-
what did you do?
Well, it's actually interesting. So the reason why it was failing is because this Mac's been sitting there and running the whole time on the network while we've been setting up everything. So it picked up an early policy, an early profile before everything was configured. So as soon as I did a restart on the device, it just went, oh yeah, I know what I've got to do. It's all good. Don't worry about it, bro. Let's just keep going. So if we hit next on this and we hit English Australia, because I'm in Australia, yay. It will go through, it'll go, hey, cool, we're picking up Australia, not a problem, and show an awesome screen. If we hit our Command F1, it's now popped up the screen for everybody else to see what I'm doing. We hit continue, accessibility, not right now. But what you'll see now is it actually says Intune training can automatically configure your device. Previously, it wasn't saying that. So we're going to hit continue, and now it's popping up with that modern authentication, which again wasn't previously showing up. So I'm going to sign in, training, and you can see it's got all of our corporate branding, which is awesome. And we'll probably get an MFA prompt. Actually, we probably won't because we haven't set up conditional access yet. So this should go through and do the installation and management of the device. You'll see that it's popped up the spinning disk and it's contacting portal.manage Microsoft. It's now going and installing that in enrollment profile. So saying this is what we configured and this is how we're going to go through that process. So we have data and privacy. We're happy. Hey, you've got to approve the terms and conditions. I totally read that and we've gone all the way through. But you'll note that I didn't get the process to set up anything else, which I think is pretty awesome. We didn't even get the Apple ID, sign in with Apple Watch option. Do you want to have a guess, Adam, or Jóhannes, why we didn't get that option?
Because we didn't set up an Apple ID.
Correct. And that's the same reason why you won't get Pay ID. So while we said, hey, no, it's all good to sign in with Apple ID, with your Apple Watch, if you don't have the Apple ID, everything's tied back to that. So there are advantages and disadvantages for having Apple ID there or not. If you go down the managed identity, which we'll do in a separate video because it's a whole another adventure when it comes to Apple ID and Apple ID management, that gives you a lot more control around the ability for your end users to install applications as well. So I've got to still create a username and password to sign into the computer, even though it's AAD aware, it's Intune managed, everything associated. This hopefully will go away soon, but we don't have time for that. So we're going to create our nice simple password, and we're signing in and creating that local computer account. Happy days. And you'll see it's creating the account down the bottom left here. And what will happen eventually is we'll just get to the screen for signed in user.
So I'm assuming that this account will just automatically get full access to the device.
Correct.
Basically a local administrator account.
Correct. So today, that is the model that is how it works with Intune managed. That will eventually change over time. So I'm going to enable local services on this device because I want location services to work, because I can sometimes be somewhat forgetful. Definitely going to handle the analytics. Touch ID. If you're not giving your users the ability to use Touch ID, well, why not? It's the equivalent of Windows Hello biometric authentication. So it's super useful, super secure. Has to be dark theme for the win. And we're going to enroll. So as Jóhannes alluded to, I'm now signed into the device as a local admin on the device. This is how it is today. Apple has committed with Microsoft that in the next 6 to 12 months, there will be mechanisms and controls that are available that will allow you as an IT admin to put some more controls around that and remove local admin from those user objects. What you'll see up the top here is Microsoft Auto Update has been added to the list of apps that can run in the background. That's curious. I haven't pushed Microsoft Auto Update application to the device, have we? But we have pushed Company Portal. So Company Portal, its update engine is using the Microsoft Auto Update. We're going to accept that, and that allows for it to be kept up to date to the latest version. So we're going to quickly close out of that. And what we should see down here, if we go to the app list, if it allows me to load it, it's just thinking at the moment. As you can see, it's not popping up straight away.
What if you go in the
and there we go.
Holy cow, it worked.
And we have Company Portal. If we hit sign in, it's going to, I still need to sign into that account. This is something that will be simpler and seamless eventually. There is also the single sign-on for Azure AD accounts for macOS, which we'll go through in a later video as well, where we talk about once you sign into the company portal, it will then be used as auto sign into other applications in your macOS.
Yeah, the SSO extension, I think it's called.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's called that too. Cool.
Hey, would you look at that?
And now you can see that the device is being registered. If we go to system settings and we go to, I think it's under general. No, they've moved it around with this version. Profiles. You can see that we have our management profiles here. These are the Intune management profiles, and you can see that the Mac is supervised and managed by Intune training. From here, we can step in and have a look at what these settings are and how loose and simple we are being with those policies.
Now, I have one quick question. since you are effectively a local admin on the device right now, can
Correct.
you somehow remove that profile?
I shouldn't be able to because we said we weren't allowed to. So
Well,
let's
through the
go-
GUI, but yeah, it's a Unix-based system. Can you open up a
So
terminal
if
and
we
just
go-
delete the file?
So in the docs, it actually says if you try via terminal, we'll block it as well.
Ooh, interesting.
Let's go here.
You should try to sign in with an Apple ID.
We will. Which we'll be able to. So if we go here,
Oh, that's right.
management
We were just
profile.
blocking the initial screen, right?
So
we don't-
you'll
we don't
see
have
here, I
policies.
don't have that minus to remove it for any of these. If we'd allowed for the device not to be locked down, then I'd be able to minus and remove those management profiles and then take it and make it my own. Cool, right?
That is a very quick and easy process.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
It's,
it's worth
even-
pointing out that at this point, all we've got is just basic provisioning done. You don't want to
Yeah.
stop there. There's more to come, but this is where
Correct.
we want to stop for the purpose of this video is to walk you through getting to this point. Then
That's right.
additional configurations, all the other bits and pieces that go with this will come later.
exactly. This is the starting point, not the end point. But yeah, that's it. That's how simple it is.
Well, what else?
I think that covers it off. Oh, actually, we should be going back to the portal and
Oh.
showing that it's registered in
Ooh,
Intune.
yeah.
Okay. Let me close down all the stuff I was doing over here. Okay.
Adam got distracted. We were talking back.
All right.
So here we go. If we go back to macOS devices, you'll see that my MacBook Air is here now. It's interesting that it's flagging it as a compliant device because there is no compliant policies aside. So if we go device compliance, please don't wipe my device. So if you go to device compliance, it looks like the default policy is there and has client. So what you should be doing, and we will talk about this in a future video, is device compliance is super important. You want to make sure your device is compliant. It goes hand in hand with network security and zero trust and application security. So do highly, highly recommend that. But what you can see here is we were successful. You'll note that we have no managed apps that actually deployed because we deployed it out using that shell script.
Right. And it's probably waiting to do inventory and all those things. So this data will all update as it goes. But that's pretty cool that it's already here.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah,
that was successful.
Ish.
No, I mean,
We got there.
We got there. It's good.
Yep.
It was just, random fluke on that, getting the policies too soon.
Yes, indeed.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for hanging around.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.